Well, Lee, I'm looking forward to this one because I'm very intrigued as to how you think your season is going slash gone. So let me just ask you a very vague question. What's your analysis so far?
Do you know what? It's been a difficult season. It's a tough. I know it sounds silly, but we've had lots of injuries, lots of ups and downs, but we're still in it. You know what I mean? And I look at it and I think I don't know how. I don't know if the club and that believe in it, because obviously with the January transfer window. But I tell you that I do, and I think the players are definitely giving it all their all. And I think for that reason, I think that's why I'm sort of still going with it a little bit. I do think ultimately it will end in pain because we just haven't got the depth of squad. I think that's something that we'll definitely rule when we come back in at the end of the season, January. I think I can't believe we haven't done anything. But we're still in it. And, you know, there's a lot of teams that are taking the mickey out of us for being in second at this moment in time. But, you know, we're in a position that a lot of teams would like to be in. So it's a strange one. It's been a strange season. I think that there's still a few more twists and turns. I don't think that we're quite out of it yet. I think I was impressed with Liverpool against Aston Villa, I have to say. I know they only drew the game, but they looked menacing. Then against Wolves, they didn't. So I think, dare I say it, this weekend pivotal. I think pivotal. Like, you know, if we can beat you guys, put it down to 5, and then we'll see if Man City can do us a favour. Manchester City doing Arsenal favour. If we can see that happening, then who knows? But I think this weekend and week, because I think that we've got a very, very difficult game coming up against Forest. They've got a difficult game against Newcastle. And all of a sudden, it could be really, really on, or it could be out of our reach. So I think these next 2 games for Arsenal are going to be pivotal in what happens.
Do you think you'll do it?
No. And the reason being is that the squad's not strong enough. If you look at it, we've got 2 difficult games coming up. West Ham at home, you know, people will laugh at me when I say that, but with the Declan Rice thing and rivalry and London derby, tough. You know, got a fantastic result against us last season. Always been a little bit tougher over the last few seasons at the Emirates than it has been at your place. Then the one against Nottingham Forest. But then after that, we've got FA Cup, which we're not in, so we've got a little break there. And then we play Man United in between the 2 Champions League games.
That's an easy one then. At least you can rest players.
Well, yeah, well, that you say that, but you know, you never know with bloody Man United, do you? Like, you know, Man United in that game can afford to defend and be not as gun-ho as they would do against other teams, and you know, like they've caused us a few problems that way. But obviously they wouldn't accept it if they were playing a Leicester or a Southampton, which is really what they've done in the last few games, and been sort of got away with it, if I'll be honest. So, but you'd think that you would want to be able to rotate a couple of players in and around that. We might be able to do it defensively and in midfield, but up front we've got limited options. And for the club to leave us in this position, you know, it is ridiculous, really. And when we were so much still to play for, I think it will be the undoing us. Obviously, we've got Martinelli to come back in the end of March. But, you know, they're talking about Saka, but I can't see that happening. So, listen, I think that we're going to have to ride our luck and just see if we can do it. If we do it, I think it'd be an unbelievable for us to do it. But I also think that you'd have to look at Liverpool and go, wow, they've exploded. I'd have to say that something's going to be, I don't know, Liverpool will have to lose 2, 3, maybe 4 games. They've not lost that all season. So it would have to be a miracle, really, I'd have to say. But I think if we had a little bit more, if we'd have bought a couple of players, who knows, you can rotate and still be in with a shout. So then we go to Saturday when I don't know how we're going to play attacking wise. I know we've done well in the latter part of the game against Leicester, but for 70 minutes there, we never looked like scoring. So I don't know. I just think we've left ourselves a little bit short, if I'll be honest.
Do you think he's going to play Marino up front? Because it sounds a bit stupid, doesn't it? But then he didn't, like you say, he didn't look like scoring against Leicester. He came off the bench and sort of took that position up and grabbed a couple. So
Yeah, I think they'll play him. I think that he's fairly similar to Havertz in that respect, and Havertz done fantastically well last season in that role, from January to May, and it was very, very good. I have to say his two finishes were very, very surprising how well he took them. Listen, the first one you'd expect a goal scorer. I'll tell you what, you'd expect a proper goal scorer to probably get the second, but he took them very, very well, like he was an accomplished striker. So I've seen them missed. I've seen Havertz miss a few of them. Like the header was fairly straightforward, but he had to be precise with it, and the finish for the second goal was a lot difficult, a lot harder than what it actually looks if you play football or whatever. So for him to do that was I know it sounds silly, more of an added bonus on top of his actual play, because he held the ball up well and he give us a platform up there, a bit of physicality. So I'll be shocked if he doesn't start. Shocked if he doesn't start against you guys on Saturday.
But going back to that January transfer window, you referred to it a couple of times already. Why did you not bring in a substantial signing? Because is it A, incompetence, or is it B, having no desire to spend, or is there a reason C there? Do you think they tried and failed, or just didn't even bother to try?
I think they tried, and I also think, and I do believe this, that they would have offered Mikel some sort of backup, and he just felt that he would go with the players that he had. And he probably felt that if anything happens to Havertz, which probably won't happen, we've got Marino in there, we've got Martinelli, we've got Saka coming back in his eyes, and he thought, you know what, I'll go with what we've got. I have no defence, if I'll be honest, for anybody at the club for not getting on it. Listen, I get it that we couldn't bring in £100 million striker or a big striker, because they're not going to be, you're not going to get them in January. I get that, but just some sort of backup, some sort of help, just because we've got nothing at this moment in time, So I honestly think if we don't win it, it's unforgivable of the owners, the club, not to just given us just something to just go on, because it's not just a league, you know what I mean? We're still in the Champions League as well. So is it more important to stay in the Champions League than go for the title? That's what it looks like to me by not doing nothing. And I'm saying, if we didn't want to spend money, we didn't have to. We could have done a couple of loan signings like Aston Villa have and other teams have done. There were a few out there that we could have probably pursued. For the life of me, I will never understand why we didn't. I never understand we didn't. The only way that I will understand it is if we go on and win it and people go, well, that was a masterclass. But I don't see it. I really don't. And listen, I think most teams would be disappointed if you didn't go and buy anybody. Spurs, for instance, they're protesting on the streets on Sunday. They brought in 3 players. Their board that they're not happy with brought in 3 players in this January transfer window in positions that they needed to get. Arsenal done nothing, and incredible, really incredible.
Yeah, especially when you consider Spurs have got nothing to play for effectively, and yourselves, like you said, you've got a bit of a title race going there. The way I see it is you win your game in hand, it's 5 points. And if you beat Liverpool later on the season, which you don't know how the lineup's going to look, it's that far away that you could have Saka back for then. You were to win that game, then suddenly it's 2 points. And then you can't deny that that's a title race. There's a lot of if, buts and maybes in there. But I think the worst thing would be is if Liverpool were to drop a decent amount of points, which they have done recently, drawn against Villa. They just got by against Wolves and Bournemouth as well. So they do look a little bit vulnerable compared to what they were pre-Christmas. And I think if they were to drop, like you said, lose 3-4 games and you were unable to overtake them, it really would be opportunity missed then. In regards to sort of the long-term plans at Arsenal then, are you happy with the way everything's going? And if you were to not pick up silverware this season, would you be okay with it because long-term is looking okay, or would you look at it as failure?
Listen, I think you've got to look at it as failure if Arsenal don't win anything this season, because they've been in the opportunity to have won something. Like, you know, I think realistically, like with the injuries that we've had, and listen, everybody's going to turn around and go, yeah, we've all had injuries, and we have had, you know, and that is true, but we've had it in our top players. You know, like Odegaard at the beginning of the season, now Saka. You know, they're players that you cannot replace. There's certain players you can replace down the line, and Liverpool have had their injuries, but they would turn around and say that they've had it to the players that they can replace at times, and as most teams have. But I think that there's been two big injuries. So to still be up there, second in the league. You've got to look at the positives from it, even though there are negatives. I don't think you can shy away from that. I don't think that you can. We've not been as free-flowing this season. We've certainly not been, I don't think, as a, you know, how can I say it? Like, you think we haven't blown anybody away. Not that many teams this season really blown a team away. Like, I think the last team, you know, we beat Crystal Palace convincingly, but Crystal Palace come at us. Teams have sort of thinking to themselves, I tell you what, if we go toe to toe with Arsenal, we're going to get beaten. But if we play this sort of low block, we can get saved. I don't think that we've quite found the answer for that. And there's been enough times now when teams have come to the Emirates or even away from home and just change their style a little bit against us. We've got to be able to break that down. I don't think we've done that enough. And when you look at it, 8 draws, it does sort of tell you that that's been the case. So I think that there's been a lot, listen, with the injuries and everything, like, you know, to still be up there challenging, it still could be great for us. I think that let's see what happens to the end of the season. But if things were to go the way I probably think that they will go, I'm going to be really disappointed, because I feel that we had a very, very good chance. And for whatever reason, whether it's not back in the manager or not, you know, getting some players in at January. Listen, you can have this sort of injury spell. You know, it could happen to Liverpool now. Liverpool could lose their 2 best players in February. There's nothing you can do about it, which happened to us a couple of years ago. But I look at that. We went. Saka went down, and basically, you know, he's going to be out for the most of the campaign. Jesus went down and was out for the season in the January transfer window. I think that we'll look back at this as a missed opportunity, and I think that a lot of fans will be disappointed by that. I certainly will be, because of all the time that the thing that's made me more disappointed than anything is that I genuinely felt that we were still in this title race. I felt that this could happen with Liverpool, especially with the games coming up. You've not just got these tough league games. You've got Champions League on the back of this and all that, like, you know, and they've been sort of playing the same players all the time. Will they tire? I don't know, you know. I see them as more vulnerable than Manchester City over the last few years. That's nothing against Liverpool. I just think that Manchester City team was you know, unbelievable. But this Liverpool team is very, very good, but it's got flaws in it, just like Arsenal have over the last couple of years as well. So, listen, if they go to Man City and beat Man City on Sunday, and we don't beat you guys, that's a missed opportunity. So we've got to now opportunities now by beating West Ham on Saturday. Would put pressure on that result a little bit more. Like, you know, you imagine if it's 10 minutes to go, it's 1-1, 0-0 or something like that. They're in a position where they go, do you know what? I don't know if we should go for it. But if they're in a position where we've lost or drawn, they can just go, do you know what? We can nail it here. Let's nail it here. And so you can get caught out, you know. And listen, if we were to beat West Ham and then they were to lose or drop points against Manchester City, wow, that would put us, right 5 points behind with a game in hand. And then also a difficult game for them at Newcastle, which would put pressure. And that's what you've got to do. Somehow along the line, we've got to build pressure that's going to make them crack, or do things that they wouldn't normally do in a game, like it's happened to us before, and I just feel that we just missed the opportunity by not doing something in January.
Yeah, I think Aaron Slot's changed a little bit after the Villa game. He was suggesting, the fireworks, do they always have that, or is it just because Liverpool are here? You thought, what? It's a very strange comment for him saying it's not something you've heard before, really. He almost felt like there was a little bit of him his upper lip was starting to wobble a little bit, that he felt that it was 2 big points dropped. And, I think the start of the season, when you're winning, you're at the top, people don't pay too much attention to it because they expect you to drop points eventually. But when you get to 2/3 of the season gone, it's, well, you're now the favourites to win the title. It's yours to lose now at this point. And I feel like you can tell that. And I get what you're saying about comparing Arsenal this season to last season. I think when I'm watching your games, I feel like you're lacking this sort of killer instinct almost. Yeah. Last season, it would be 0-0, 5 minutes to go. I'd still be confident Arsenal would go get a winner, that you'd find a way of getting. And sometimes it was an unusual player that would pop up. It'd be a cross and it'd be a centre-back that got the winner or something. You found ways of winning. Like you said, 8 draws this season. I don't know. It just feels like you're just lacking that blow to get to win result. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to go and see how often you score goals in the 80+ minutes this season compared to last now and see if there's a difference. But just while watching Arsenal, I just feel like it perhaps has been. But from your team lead to my team, if you don't mind, what do you make of West Ham?
Do you know what? If I was a West Ham fan this season, I'd be very disappointed. Very disappointed. I felt that the foundations were there. They got some good players to go and do really, really well. Obviously made the wrong appointment after getting rid of David Moyes. And you look at that decision there with Dale. I don't know how you guys feel about what he's doing at Everton. It's quite incredible. And I just felt that West Ham just haven't really kicked on to where they should have. Got some very, very good players. I don't think playing where you play at home helps. I've always said that. It must make it a lot tougher. I was speaking to one of my West Ham mates, and he sort of was alluding to that as well. Like, that it's a tough gig. But I think that a couple of weeks ago, West Ham were above Spurs and looked like they was going to push on this season. And just feel against Chelsea. I watched the game against Chelsea, funny enough, and as we all know, Chelsea's form has dropped massively. I felt West Ham done well that game. I thought that they probably should have got over the line, and they didn't. So you don't really know what you're going to get from West Ham. I know what you're going to. This game is not a free hit, but I feel that it's one where you can defend, sit there and defend, and try and hit us on the break, which is our weakness. Say to us, right, come and break us down. So I think this game will suit West Ham a little bit more. I think it's when they play teams like Brentford, teams like that you probably think, right, this is one we're going to win and expecting it, and it doesn't quite happen. I think that's the frustrating thing with West Ham at this moment in time. But I think that they're on the right lines, and like Man United, probably like Spurs, there's worse teams in the league. So I don't think there's the problem of worrying about relegation at this moment in time. So West Ham can probably build and use this season as building blocks for next, if you know what I mean. Like get things in there without the pressure. So I think that this is an important time for West Ham, but even though it probably don't look like it, but I think that they'll be getting everything ready for next season. And I think that they've probably got the right man now. I think in Potter, I think that he looks like West Ham could be the right club for him. And don't make the mistakes on the manager so much. I think that's something that perhaps West Ham will learn from.
Saturday then, how do you see this game going?
Tough. I see it being a tough, horrible watch for us. I think West Ham will do what they done to us last season. And the season before, if I'll be honest, you know, I mean, I remember he was 1-0 up against us, and we just scraped through. It's not going to be easy. I think that the games at your place have been a little bit easier for us because I think there is an emphasis from the fans' point of view to attack, but away from home, there won't be that pressure to do that. So I think it'll suit West Ham, and of course, the longer the game goes on, the worse it gets for us Arsenal fans, you know. So I do think there's massive pressure on us. You know, we've got to get a goal. I think if we get a goal early, I think we'll be all right. But the longer it goes on, I think it's going to be a tough watch. But just hope that we just get through. I couldn't say I'm convinced, but you know, I'm just hoping that we can break you down and get the goal and go on into a scrappy win.
I'm going to ask you for 2 predictions. Reason being, because I know you always go for an Arsenal win, right? I know you do. You always predict an Arsenal win. So I'm going to ask for a second one and say, if you weren't an Arsenal fan, Lee, how would you be calling this game?
Do you know what? If it's a draw at the end of it, 1-0 West Ham, 1-1, 0-0, would not surprise me. I wouldn't be shocked if I was a neutral. As a betting man, I would go Arsenal because they're at home. I think home advantage is something else there. But this, you know, if Arsenal weren't to win this game, I wouldn't be shocked. Do you know what? I wouldn't be coming out the ground Saturday absolutely livid because I think that, you know, I remember we played Aston Villa a few weeks back, like, you know, and people going, "Oh, he didn't see Henry," because I felt that could happen. Because we had like lots of games building up to that one. But this one, I think that if Arsenal have a weakness in their play and a weakness tactically and whatever, I think it is when teams players with a low block. I'm not saying with ambition not to win, because there is ambition to win that and get you on the break. West Ham are not one of those teams that are going to go, right, we're coming here and giving it a go. Like, to be honest, Man City come in there and give it a go. They didn't play defensively 5-1. You know, but it was still tight at one stage of that game. West Ham, I think will be one of those teams that I fear, and also with West Ham, they have got players up front that can hurt. So if you defend properly, which West Ham haven't done for large parts of this season, but if they were to do it, I wouldn't be surprised. You're
getting my hopes up, Lee. Thank you. I needed that. Pick me up ahead of the game. You guys at home, if you enjoyed the video, please do drop a like on it. Subscribe to your channel. You probably know who Lee is, but if you do not know who Lee is, I'll put all the links to his social media in the description below. But Lee, thank you very much, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Always a pleasure. Take care.
Cheers, Lee. Thank you.